Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Beyond World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan John.
And I'm Jyotsna Kumar. On the show today, Denmark's Aalborg airport has been closed after drones were spotted disrupting 4 flights. Now, the shutdown follows similar drone-related disruptions at Copenhagen and Oslo airports, raising security concerns across Europe. We'll bring you all the details on that on the show.
On the Warfront, Ukrainian President Zelensky is ready to meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin anywhere other than Moscow. And Russia responded to this by naming Istanbul as Russia's preferred venue for potential talks. How does the diplomacy evolve now going forward with more casualties every day on the battlefront? We'll discuss this on the show with our special guest. This and a lot more lined up for you. Let's start with the headlines.
We want to expand our energy cooperation with India in natural gas, in coal, in nuclear, in clean cooking fuels, liquid petroleum gas. India's been a star in that area. So we want nothing more than more trade, energy cooperation with India.
U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright says Washington aims to boost energy cooperation with New Delhi, calling India a fast-growing economy and awesome ally. Urges India to reconsider its purchase of Russian oil.
Denmark's Aalborg airport, used for commercial and military flights, was closed due to drones in its airspace. This is 2 days after similar sightings shut down the country's Copenhagen airport that raised European security concerns.
Russia vows to continue its Ukraine offensive, dismissing U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that Kiev could reclaim occupied territory. Kremlin rejects his portrayal of Moscow as a paper tiger.
A detainee killed and 2 others injured in sniper attack on ICE facility in Dallas. Gunman who fired from a nearby rooftop dies of self-inflicted gunshot wound. Trump blames the attack on the radical left Democrats.
U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff says he expects a breakthrough on Gaza soon after President Trump shares a 21-point West Asia peace plan with Arab and Islamic leaders at the UN General Assembly.
France and US warn Iran has a final chance to avoid tough UN sanctions by addressing concerns over its nuclear program. France, Britain, Germany, they plan to trigger sanctions by Saturday, citing Iran's lack of cooperation.
President Ahmed Shah in his UNG address vows to bring to justice those behind sectarian violence in Ladakh and Sweden, warning that Israeli attacks endanger Syria and regional stability.
Thai Prime Minister Anutin plans to dissolve the parliament by the end of January, with a general election scheduled for March or early April next year. Anutin won the parliamentary vote in early September this month to become the 3rd prime minister since August of 2023.
Defending champions India booked their spot in the Asia Cup final with a 41-run win over Bangladesh. The men in blue will face the winner of Thursday's Super 4 clash between Bangladesh and Pakistan for the title.
US President Donald Trump is growing incredibly impatient with Russia, according to Vice President J.D. Vance.
Now, Vance's statement comes a day after Trump performed a stunning U-turn at the UN, suggesting that Ukraine could not only retake all of the territory it lost to Russian military, but even more. Russia, rejecting Trump's claim, said that the idea that Ukraine can recapture something is mistaken. Moscow also bristled at the accusation that it was weak, while pushing back at the U.S. president's characterization of Russia as a paper tiger.
Russia's defense ministry claimed that the Ukrainian army lost about 1,500 of its troops in clashes with Russian forces across all combat areas over the past 24 hours. In a meeting on Wednesday, top U.S. diplomat Marco Rubio apparently clashed with his Russian counterpart, calling for the killing to stop and demanding Moscow to take meaningful steps towards a durable resolution. The Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, fired right back at Rubio and stressed the unaccountability of the schemes promoted by Kiev and some European capitals aimed at prolonging the conflict. This is according to a readout of their conversation released by the Russian side.
And while Russian officials shared photos said to show the aftermath of a Ukrainian drone strike on the southern Russian port city of Novorossiysk that killed 2 people and wounded 6. Addressing the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin will keep driving the war forward and deeper if he is not stopped. He said more countries would be met with Russian aggression unless allies displayed a united front and ramped up support. Zelensky criticized international institutions, suggesting they are too weak to offer Ukraine safety guarantees, adding an apparent reference to NATO that being part of a long-standing military alliance does not automatically mean they are safe.
Just last week, Estonia and Poland, they requested a consultation with other NATO members after Russia violated their airspace in separate incidents. Russia, of course, has denied these claims. Romania, another NATO member, also said that Russian drones breached its airspace. The Ukrainian leader also warned that Europe cannot afford to lose Moldova, which lies between Ukraine and EU member Romania, to Russian influence. He said that the West had missed a chance to save Georgia and Belarus from Putin's orbit.
Well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Giorgio Cafiero from Washington, D.C. He is the CEO of Gulf State Analytics and professor at the Georgetown University. We welcome you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's begin.
Thank you. Good to be with you guys.
Absolutely. So let's begin about all the different things that happened. Trump has said that Ukraine to take over the territories. Russia says, well, that's not possible. And Zelensky has now pointed out that, being part of a long-standing military alliance does not automatically mean they are safe. It seems like there has been a turn in the whole situation. NATO does not seem as strong as it should be. How do you analyze these developments coming at this time?
Yeah, definitely a lot to analyze right now. A few things. I think everyone in Ukraine and throughout the rest of Europe understands that Trump is often all over the map. It's really Trump's style to do these sort of sudden 180s that surprise everyone. But I think the more and more people get to be familiar with Trump's leadership, less of a surprise it's sort of something we can always expect from Trump. While he made this huge 180 on the Ukraine conflict, I think it's tough to read too much into it. He didn't really offer any specifics about what Washington is going to do differently to support Ukraine. If it's just a social media post alone, I would advise against reading into it too much. I also think what he said is rather unrealistic. Certainly understandable that the Ukrainians would like to take back all of their lost territory. I don't think anyone could blame the Ukrainians for having that desire, but I think even those who are the most optimistic about Ukraine's capabilities to regain ground through war are not optimistic enough to think that Kiev will be able to take back every square inch of land in its UN-recognized borders that Russia has been controlling going back to 2014. I do think, though, that Trump has been frustrated with the Kremlin since the Alaska summit. The Russians have not made any concessions to Ukraine or the West. I think that frustrates the White House. And I interpret this sort of talk from Trump as a tactic to put some more pressure on Moscow.
All right, Mr. Cafiro, thanks so much for joining us here on the broadcast. Of course, this is, it's strange times when what the US president is saying is also looked at with a lot of caution and not, most people would consider it not to be taken or read too much into. But I guess he is the US president, and of whatever he says, it matters. Whether it translates onto ground realities, that remains to be seen. There'll be more to discuss. Would love to have you on the broadcast again. That was Giorgio Cafiro joining us here on World DNA. All right, let's move further from here. The US envoy Steve Witkoff has hinted at a breakthrough related to ending the war in Gaza.
Now, of course, he said that President Donald Trump has presented a new proposal to Arab and Islamic leaders, which has been termed Trump's 21-point plan for peace in West Asia. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, along with Gulf leaders, called for an immediate end to the war and pushed for a region free from what he described as terrorism and extremism.
The French President Emmanuel Macron believes Trump's plan could incorporate key European ideas, including dismantling Hamas and deploying an international stabilization force in Gaza. Macron also reaffirmed European opposition to the annexation of the West Bank. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister rebuked the recognition of a Palestinian state by 6 European countries, which includes France and Belgium, calling it a shameful capitulation to Palestinian terror.
Now, additionally, tensions have erupted at sea. The global Sumut flotilla, a convoy of 50 civilian boats carrying aid, activists, and even climate campaigner Greta Thunberg came under drone attack in international waters 30 nautical miles off the Greek island of Gavthos. UN has demanded a probe into the matter.
Condemning the attacks as reckless and dangerous, Italian Prime Minister Meloni urged the flotilla to offload its aid in Cyprus and allow them to be distributed by the local church. Italy has deployed a Navy frigate to the flotilla's location.
Now, Spain announced it will also send a warship from Cartagena with all necessary resources in case it was required to assist the flotilla and carry out a rescue operation.
The Spanish government demands compliance with international law and respect for our citizens' right to sail safely in the Mediterranean. I can therefore inform you that tomorrow a maritime action vessel equipped with all the necessary resources will set sail from Cartagena in case it is necessary to assist the flotilla and carry out any rescues.
In Gaza, the humanitarian toll continues to mount. At least 10 civilians were killed on Wednesday while attempting to collect aid. Netanyahu is scheduled to address the UN General Assembly on Friday and meet Donald Trump to discuss the hostage situation.
Protesters, including relatives of hostages, gathered at Ben Gurion Airport demanding an end to the war and urgent action on the hostage crisis, with one demonstrator holding a sign that read, and I'm quoting here, "Trump, liberate us." The Houthis have launched yet another attack on Israel.
In the latest escalation, the Houthis attacked Israel's southern port city of Eilat. At least 22 people have been injured in the attack. The explosive-laden drone pierced through the Israeli air defenses and hit the ground in Eilat. Israeli Air Force has sent helicopters to rescue those who were injured. Those who are seriously hurt are being taken to Beersheba Hospital. Ambulances and teams of the Israeli emergency services have been deployed in the resort town of Eilat.
The Israeli Air Force reportedly identified the incoming drone from Yemen. 2 Iron Dome interceptor missiles fired at the drone, but both failed to take down the device. IDF says sirens were sounded in the city warning of the drone attack.
Now, this is the third Houthi strike on Israel in less than 2 weeks. Israel and the Houthis are now trading fire at regular intervals. Houthi rebels have launched repeated drone and missile attacks against Israel, claiming solidarity with the Palestinians. In response, Israel has carried out rounds of retaliatory strikes in rebel-held areas of Yemen, mainly targeting infrastructure such as ports, power stations and the airport in the capital, Sana'a.
Last week, Israeli military said it had intercepted a missile fired from Yemen. The attack a day after Israeli forces carried out airstrikes that the Houthis said killed 46 people and wounded more than 160.
A landmark moment in New York. For the first time in nearly 6 decades, a Syrian president took the podium at the United Nations General Assembly.
President Ahmed al-Sharaa stood among the world leaders, putting Syria's case before the world. In a speech heavy on promises of change, Sharaa pledged to open a new chapter in his country's history, one of peace, stability, and prosperity. Sharaa promised accountability for those responsible for bloodshed. He warned that Israeli actions could spark new crisis in the region and vowed to respect the 1974 disengagement agreement with Israel.
In this context, Israeli strikes and attacks against my country continue since December 8th, contradicting the international support for Syria and threatening new crises in an attempt to exploit the transitional phase, which exposes the region to being dragged into a cycle of new conflicts that no one knows where it will end. I guarantee to bring to justice all those who have the blood of the innocent on their hands.
The Syrian leader also called on the international community to stand by Syria in the face of dangers and to respect his country's sovereignty. He thanked countries supporting Syria's transition.
His arrival in New York was marked by scenes of support. Hundreds of Syrians gathered outside the UN headquarters, waving flags and cheering their president on.
We are celebrating Syria coming back of isolation and the rule of terrorism. Now we are a nation which can be in the United Nations after 75 years of our president will not dare to come to here.
For nearly 60 years, Syrian leaders have stayed away from the UNGA, the General Assembly, a boycott rooted in anger over the 1967 Arab-Israeli war when Israel occupied the Golan Heights. The last Syrian leader to attend was Nuruddin al-Attasi in 1967. Sharaa's recent address signals a dramatic reset in Syria's regional and international posture after the ouster of Bashar al-Assad. And Denmark's Aalborg airport has been temporarily closed due to drone sightings in its airspace.
And this is, of course, 2 days after a similar sighting at the Copenhagen airport. And according to reports, 4 flights have been affected, including 2 SAS planes, 1 Norwegian and 1 KLM flight were impacted. Denmark said that the drones had halted flights at Copenhagen airport for 4 hours, were the most serious attack yet on its critical infrastructure, and linked them to a series of suspected Russian drone incursions and other disruptions across Europe.
Eurocontrol, which oversees European air traffic control, has confirmed that arrivals and departures at the airport will be suspended. The police are investigating the incident, but the exact number of drones involved remains undisclosed. This incident comes on the heels of a similar closure at Copenhagen airport, which was shut down for 4 hours due to drone sightings. That happened on Tuesday.
Now, the drone incident prompted sharp criticism from a Danish PM who called it a serious attack on Denmark's infrastructure.
Authorities in Norway also shut the airspace at Oslo airport for 3 hours. That happened on Monday evening after a drone was seen. According to Norway's foreign minister, both countries are working closely on the investigation.
Prime Minister spoke yesterday, and we are in close contact with our very close friend and ally Denmark. We have not yet, investigation has not yet established a connection between the two, nor connecting to a particular country. What we can say is that in this time of hybrid threats and potential hybrid warfare, these are exactly the things we have to look for, because the space between peace, pure peace, and a full-scale war is a much more murky space, and we need to be alert and ready to connect the dots when we see them.
Moving on, in Dallas, a gunman has opened fire from a rooftop onto a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility.
Authorities say that one detainee was killed, 2 others were injured inside a transport van before the shooter took his own life. Now, the suspect was identified as 29-year-old Joshua Yan. Investigators say the motive remains unclear, though a bullet recovered at the scene was marked with the words anti-ICE.
The attack is the latest public targeted killing in the U.S., coming 2 weeks after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was killed by a rifle-wielding shooter. The incident occurs amid growing tensions over immigration enforcement, with backlash against ICE agents and fear spreading in immigrant communities. Families waiting for appointments at the Dallas ICE facility have described their experience as the gunfire began. Listen to this.
Then gunshots were heard, and one of the agents alerted. Once people alerted, they moved us to another area. They evacuated us from where we were all sitting and waiting, all of us who came for our appointments. They evacuated us to a more protected area. And they explained to us the situation, that there was an active shooter, and they kept us there secured until the situation was managed.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has directed that security be tightened at ICE facilities nationwide. She stated that the tragic killings should be seen as a wake-up call, warning far left that harsh rhetoric against ICE carries real consequences.
And U.S. President Trump claimed the violence stems from radical left Democrats constantly demonizing law enforcement. Vice President J.D. Vance also called the shooting an act of politically motivated violence and blamed what he described as inflammatory rhetoric from Democratic leaders and the media. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson said the shooting was not only an attack on law enforcement and its victims, but also on the nation's rich tradition of civil democratic discourse.
An investigation is underway, with officers searching the building where the gunman opened fire, as well as a Toyota at a nearby office complex. The vehicle's connection to the case has not yet been confirmed. FBI agents, along with local police, have moved into a suburban Dallas neighborhood to search a home linked to Joshua Yan. Officers blocked off the street as investigators executed search warrants in the area. Neighbors expressed shock and disbelief after discovering that the suburban Dallas home was reportedly tied to the suspected gunman.
And it's just shocking to me that, our country's come to this point where we can't even talk, we can't share our opinions and ideas without risking being shot or something. And the people that are just doing their jobs, that is what they're doing. They're doing their jobs. And to put themselves at risk just by going to the office or coming out to do what they normally do, I don't think it's just a sad day for America, really.
Now, it's time for a very short break on World Daily. We'll be back with more on the other side, starting with Leh region of Ladakh Union Territory is witnessing violent protests. The unrest started after thousands of people gathered to support climate activist and education reformer Sonam Wangchuk's hunger strike. We'll get you all the details on the other side.
Republican Senator and Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, has written to the Department of Homeland Security to stop issuing work authorizations to student visa holders. We'll bring you the details on that front as well. This and a lot more. Come right back after this short break. This is World DNA.
राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ, किसी के लिए ये विचार कट्टर है तो किसी के लिए यही भारत की आत्मा है, किसी के लिए ये विद्रोह है, तो किसी के लिए राष्ट्र निर्माण के सिद्धांत।
तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये अपना हिंदू समाज,
ये सिर्फ संगठन नहीं,
अब इसको संगठित करना चाहिए।
100 बरस की तपस्या है।
हमारा संगठन तो एक अभेद्य किला है, इसके दीवारों पर चंचू प्रहार करने वालों की चोचें वही टूट कर गिर जाएगी।
एक चिंगारी से वट वृक्ष, देखिए सदी का संग्राम आरएसएस की शताब्दी पर धारणाओं को चुनौती देने जल्द आ रहा है। केसरिया at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ। किसी के लिए ये विचार कट्टर है, तो किसी के लिए यही भारत की आत्मा है, किसी के लिए ये विद्रोह है, तो किसी के लिए राष्ट्र निर्माण के सिद्धांत।
तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये अपना हिंदू समाज,
ये सिर्फ संगठन नहीं,
अब इसको संगठित करना चाहिए।
100 बरस की तपस्या है।
हमारा संगठन तो एक अभेद्य किला है, इसके दीवारों पर चंचू प्रहार करने वालों की चोचें वही टूट कर गिर जाएगी।
एक चिंगारी से वट वृक्ष, देखिए सदी का संग्राम आरएसएस की शताब्दी पर धारणाओं को चुनौती देने जल्द आ रहा है केसरिया at 100।
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA with Jyotsna. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
And we want to expand our energy cooperation with India in natural gas, in coal, in nuclear, in clean cooking fuels, liquid petroleum gas. India's been a star in that area. So we want nothing more than more trade, energy cooperation with India.
U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright says Washington aims to boost energy cooperation with New Delhi, calling India a fast-growing economy and awesome ally, urges India to reconsider its purchase of Russian oil.
Denmark's Aalborg airport used for commercial and military flights closed due to drones in its airspace 2 days after similar sightings shut down the country's Copenhagen airport that raised European security concerns.
Russia vows to continue its Ukraine offensive, dismissing U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that Kiev could reclaim occupied territory. Kremlin rejects his portrayal of Moscow as a paper tiger.
A detainee killed and 2 others injured in sniper attack on ICE facility in Dallas. The gunman who fired from a nearby rooftop died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Trump blames the attack on the radical left Democrats.
U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff says he expects a breakthrough on Gaza soon after President Trump shares a 21-point West Asia peace plan with Arab and Islamic leaders at the UN General Assembly.
France and US warn Iran has a final chance to avoid tough UN sanctions by addressing concerns over its nuclear program. France, Britain, Germany have planned to trigger sanctions by Saturday, citing Iran's lack of cooperation.
China sets its first absolute emission targets, pledging a 7 to 10% cut by 2035 from 2025 peak. President Xi Jinping declares at UN Climate Summit as U.S. ramps up fossil fuel use and Europe struggles to stay on track.
Thai Prime Minister Anutin plans to dissolve parliament by the end of January with a general election scheduled for March or early April. Anutin won the parliamentary vote in early September to become the third Prime Minister in Thailand since August 2023.
Wall Street slipped for a second day as Fed Chair Jerome Powell warned stocks may be overvalued. Investors eye inflation data and rate cut signals after markets hit record highs earlier this week.
Eberechi Eze scores his first goal for Arsenal as the Gunners beat League One side Port Vale to reach the EFL Cup fourth round. In India, the Leh region of Ladakh Union Territory is witnessing severe unrest. Of course, it prompted authorities to impose a curfew in the region.
Now, this is according to, of course, reports. They also say that restrictions have also been put under Section 163 of BNS 2023 in Kargil. Now, these restrictions include a ban on rallies and provocative statements, use of loudspeakers, and gathering for 5 or more people.
The unrest, which has now been calmed down, of course, by the authorities, it started after thousands of people gathered to support climate activist and education reformer Sonam Wangchuk's hunger strike to demand a statehood for the region and its inclusion under the 6th schedule of the constitution. The situation turned violent after demonstrators clashed with security personnel, setting a police van and other vehicles on fire.
A BJP office was also set ablaze. Authorities said that Wangchuk misled people through provocative mention of Arab Spring-style protest and references to Gen Z protests in Nepal. Moreover, authorities say that amid the violence, Wangchuk broke his fast and left for his village in an ambulance without making serious efforts to control the situation.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has linked the mob violence to Wangchuk's provocative statements. 4 persons died in the protests, while 70 have suffered injuries, with 2 of them in critical condition. Among the injured are both civilians, police and CRPF personnel. Ladakh LG Kavindra Gupta condemned the violence and appealed for peace and unity in the region.
This was supposed to be stopped. If it had not been stopped today, I think they would have tried to destroy all of Leh. A group comes and engages in arson and rioting. This is not Ladakh's tradition. People have lost lives and this will not be tolerated.
Now in Bangladesh, Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus held a meeting with Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York.
The chief advisor shared pictures of the meeting on social media, but no details were disclosed about the issues discussed. The interaction, however, has drawn considerable attention as it unfolds amid major political shifts in Bangladesh. Following the departure of the Awami League government, there has been a noticeable change in the tone and the direction of Bangladesh-Pakistan relations. An interim administration led by Mohammad Yunus has since Mohammad Yunus came to power.
Now, historically, relations between the two countries have remained strained for decades due to the 1971 Liberation War and associated war crimes. However, recent developments suggest a thaw in ties, with both sides showing signs of diplomatic engagement.
For India, this evolving equation holds significant geopolitical implications and security implications. New Delhi has been closely monitoring the growing warmth between Islamabad and Dhaka, assessing its potential impact on regional dynamics and diplomatic alignments. On Wednesday, the Bangladesh leader held a series of meetings with the leaders of multiple countries and international organizations on the sidelines of the UNGA.
Earlier, Yunus invited U.S. President Donald Trump to visit Bangladesh at a convenient time during a reception hosted by the president in New York on Tuesday. Bangladesh chief advisor is scheduled to deliver his speech at the UNGA on 26 September, during which he is expected to convey Bangladesh's commitment to holding a free, fair, peaceful, and credible election in the first half of February next year.
Typhoon Ragasa barreled into China's southern coast on Wednesday.
It brought ferocious winds, flooding rains, and massive waves. At landfall near Yangjiang City in Guangdong Province, winds reached up to 145 kilometers per hour.
Now, the storm first entered the South China Sea on Monday and intensified rapidly, skirting Hong Kong before hitting Guangdong, China's most populous and economically powerful province.
In Shenzhen, tree debris blocked streets and sidewalks. Despite the chaos, residents say the government's response was swift. In Macau, floodwaters rose up to 1.5 meters in low-lying areas. Power was preemptively cut in some districts as a safety measure. Further west, in Zhuhai, storm conditions intensified early Wednesday.
Port authorities evacuated ships and secured equipment ahead of landfall. Industrial cameras captured relentless winds and rain as gusts exceeded 110 kilometers per hour.
Across Guangdong Province, nearly 1.9 million people were evacuated. Schools, factories, and transport systems were suspended in over a dozen cities, though some began reopening as the storm moved west. Chinese authorities have allocated tens of millions of dollars to support ongoing relief and recovery efforts.
Hong Kong is also reeling from Ragasa's impact. Winds of up to 195 kilometers per hour uprooted trees, damaged infrastructure, and even sent waves crashing into the coastline. Flooding hit riverside parks, playgrounds, cycling lanes as well, and at least 80 people were injured and treated at different hospitals. Now, the city's weather observatory ranked Ragasa as a super typhoon, noting that it passed just 100 kilometers south of the city. Preliminary analysis shows that Ragasa may be the second strongest typhoon in the South China Sea since records began in 1950, tied with typhoons Saola in 2023 and Yagi in 2024.
The Hong Kong authorities are downgrading their typhoon or storm warning from the afternoon onwards. So hopefully Hong Kong will survive this and be able to clear up all of the damage. There's no serious damage to buildings and properties as far as I'm aware, and get over this one.
In Taiwan, the storm's earlier past has left devastation in its wake. A barrier lake burst in Hualien County, killing at least 14 and injuring 46. Over 7,000 people are evacuated and many remain in shelters.
Ragasa is now pushing westward, prompting train service suspensions in Guangxi region. Authorities warn of continued risks of flooding and landslides in the coming days as the region braces for more heavy rain and potential after effects. Authorities continue to urge residents to stay indoors, avoid flood zones, and follow official guidance.
The days after the Trump administration hiked H-1B visa fee, Republican Senator and Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee Chuck Grassley has written to the Department of Homeland Security to stop issuing work authorization to student visa holders.
The letter addressed to Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem blames work authorizations to student visa holders for rising unemployment amongst college-educated Americans. Further, Senator Grassley called the work authorizations as illegal and in violation of the Immigration and Nationality Act.
The latest remarks come against the backdrop of the Trump administration's recent move to hike the H-1B visa application fee to $100,000, a move that is likely to impact Indian tech industries in the U.S.
Revocation of work authorization for student visa holders may have a significant impact on Indian students, particularly who are among the top sources of foreign students in the US. According to the US Embassy, India was the top sender of international students just last year in 2024 with around 331,000 students.
The move may include OPT or optional practical training authorizations, which allow foreign students to work around 12 to 36 months after completing their degrees in the U.S. If implemented, the move will block a pathway for foreign students to work in the U.S. and force them to return upon completion of their studies in the U.S. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
In another potential setback, Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley is pressing Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to end work authorization for student visa holders. Grassley argues that letting foreign students stay and work after graduating violates U.S. law and takes away opportunities from American graduates. He also raised national security concerns, citing FBI warnings that Chinese students with STEM visas could be linked to corporate espionage. The push could affect thousands of foreign students who are on work permits like OPT in order to gain U.S. experience. For many, this just adds to the growing list of hurdles as Washington tightens rules on both H-1B and student visas, even as foreign talent continues to play a crucial role in America's various sectors. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And amid ongoing trade tensions between US and India, American Energy Secretary Chris Wright praised India's thriving economy and highlighted the opportunity for enhanced energy trade between the two countries.
Now, that was in response to India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal's comments on the country's readiness to buy more U.S. energy. The United States aims to boost energy ties with India, and this includes natural gas, coal, nuclear energy, and clean cooking fuels. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright praised India as a star in clean cooking fuels. He highlighted India's growing energy needs and economic dynamism. Wright said that the United States is seeking expanded energy cooperation with awesome ally India.
A lot of my early time when I arrived in my position was dealing with India, the world's largest democracy, an awesome ally of the United States, a fast-growing economy, a truly dynamic society. I'm a huge fan of India. We love India. We look forward to more energy trade, more interactions back and forth with India.
This was at a press conference in response to a question on his views on how he sees any partnership after Trump's 25% penalty on India for buying Russian oil. Wright said that India is caught up in the middle of the Russia-Ukraine war issue. He said that Trump's greatest passion is peace in the world and highlighted the friction with India was its Russian oil purchases. Wright reiterated US administration's repeated allegations that Russian energy revenue from India, China and Turkey was fueling the Ukraine war.
Where does Russian oil today that's sanctioned go? You know, it goes to China, India, and it goes to Turkey. And so that helps Russia fund that war. And that's the friction. The friction's on that issue. We want to bring that war to the end. I believe the Indians want to bring that war to an end, and we want to expand our energy cooperation with India in natural gas, in coal, in nuclear, in clean cooking fuels, liquid petroleum gas. India's been a star in that area. So we want nothing more than more trade, energy cooperation with India.
On Wednesday, Goyal said India is an enormous energy importer and that the United States will play a quote-unquote very high element in helping the country achieve its energy security goals in the coming years. He stated that the two nations will keep cooperating in the nuclear energy field. Referring to nuclear energy, Goyal added that he is interested in hearing about the latest developments with small modular reactors, SMRs, in the U.S.
India is a big player in the energy field, as Pankaj just mentioned. We are big importers of energy from across the world, including from the US. We expect to increase our trade with the US on energy products in the years to come.
Now, scientists believe we may have caught a whisper from another universe.
Well, this is not a sci-fi film, but a real signal that could have slipped through a cosmic wormhole. The big question, did we just hear from a parallel world? Well, we try to answer that in this report. Take a look.
It began as a tremor, a strange ripple recorded by one of the world's most advanced gravitational wave detectors. At first, it looked like the usual chatter of the universe. Black holes colliding, stars exploding. But then, the signal bent the rulebook. Its shape was wrong, its rhythm unfamiliar. It was as if the cosmos itself had coughed out a secret. The detectors at LIGO and Virgo confirmed. A single sharp jolt of a gravitational wave over in less than 1/10 of a second. Scientists from the International Gravitational Observatory now say the anomaly might be the first ever hint of a wormhole. A wormhole is a hypothetical tunnel-like passage in space-time that connects two distant points, acting as a shortcut that could allow for rapid travel across vast cosmic distances or even through time. Now scientists say that this wormhole could have carried a message, a pulse from a parallel universe, a signal not born in our galaxy, not even in our universe, but leaking in through a cosmic shortcut. Researchers say the energy spike was so precise, so alien to known physics, it could not be explained by ordinary events. The discovery, if confirmed, would shatter everything we know about space and time. Wormholes are supposed to be unstable, collapsing instantly, but this signal suggests one stayed open long enough to let something through, not matter, not spacecraft, but information. The data is still being crunched, but make no mistake, if this holds up, we are staring at the first proof that our universe is not alone. Somewhere out there, a mirror reality might exist, with its own stars, its own Earth, perhaps even its own version of us.
And in cricket, defending champions India booked their place in the Asia Cup final with a 41-run win over Bangladesh.
The men in blue could face our rivals Pakistan in the title clash if they beat Bangladesh today. Bangladesh won the toss and opted to bowl first. Opener Abhishek Sharma dominated the innings. He shared an explosive first wicket stand with Shubham Gill, amassing 46 in the power play alone. He scored his second half century in as many matches. He went on to score 75 before being run out in the 12th over. His dismissal sparked a mini collapse as India lost 3 wickets for 17 runs in 3.3 overs. All-rounder Hardik Pandya then steadied the ship with 38 to set Bangladesh target of 169.
Bangladesh opener Saif Hassan looked threatening but received little support from the other end. He top scored for Bangladesh with 69, including 5 sixes, while Parvez Hossain Imon was the only other batter to reach double figures, scoring 21. Bangladesh were eventually bowled out for 127 in the final over. Kuldeep Yadav starred with 3 for 18, while Jasprit Bumrah and Varun Chakravarti picked up 2 wickets each. The win moves unbeaten India 2 points clear at the top of the table, while also eliminating Sri Lanka, who have lost both their Super 4 matches.
Yes, exactly. In power play, the only aim is to look for wickets, and it's just looking for that one ball. If it pitches on that right spot and it turns a little bit, and he can edge it. So it's about looking for that, and because that's my role in the team. Even if I go for little runs, my aim is to keep on attacking and try to look for more wickets. Yeah.
Now, Hollywood's Welsh beauty, Catherine Zeta-Jones, celebrates her 56th birthday today.
Known for her timeless elegance and award-winning performances, she remains one of cinema's most beloved stars. And from The Mask of Zorro to her Oscar-winning performance in Chicago, Zeta-Jones has left an unforgettable mark in Hollywood. And who can forget The Mummy? Off-screen, She and her husband, Michael Douglas, have been one of Tinseltown's most talked about couples, celebrating over 2 decades together. She's also known for her style, consistently ranking as a red carpet favorite with her old Hollywood glamour. More recently, the 56-year-old made waves on the global stage with Netflix hit series Wednesday,
where her role as Morticia Addams received praise and introduced her to a whole new generation of fans. But the actor has also made headlines for her health struggles, including openly speaking about her battle with bipolar disorder, turning a personal struggle into a message of strength. Today, the star continues to act, balancing big screen projects and television while embracing life with grace and confidence. With that, we call a wrap to this edition of World DNA. Don't go anywhere, news and updates follow on the other side. And before we go, here is a look at all the climate stories making headlines across the world. Thanks for joining in. Stay tuned.